Who is the greatest couple in wrestling history?
All right. So I wrote down a few here. Currently going, probably true, right? Because
Sure.
we're talking about Bianca Belair, Montez Ford. Like they don't match up,
Right.
right? But I don't know if they're the best in history. I think they probably still have a ways to go.
One more I'll throw for the current, and it might just be lopsided. Rhea and Buddy. Rhea's doing a lot of lifting there of that couple.
Well, but that's the thing.
Buddy gets his chances.
Becky and Seth are both pretty on they've both main evented WrestleMania, right?
Okay.
Like they're on a level, and that's something Becky is going to have over pretty much every other couple, right?
Right.
Like other than like Charlotte and Andrade, but Andrade just doesn't match up to Seth.
Sure.
Right. So that no matter all the other women that I'm going to mention, like they're just not going to be able to match up with that because Becky was the first to main event a WrestleMania. But the first, so I think this is more of a historic conversation, right? So there were three. Well, I guess. Also in terms of current couples, shout out to Chelsea and Matt Cardona.
Of course,
Cardona does great things. Chelsea, doesn't have the accomplishments, but the character work impeccable. So just wanted to shout out, friend of show Matt Cardona. Yes. So in terms of history, I'll start with how do we feel about Brie and Brian?
I had that one written down because as much as everyone knocks the Bellas, they are a duo that drew people in. They had the casual fan. Like my wife tolerates wrestling because of the amount I have it on, but like she wanted to watch Total Divas. Like she was into them. She knows who they are. Like they had that power to bring in the casuals or the people not watching. And Brie deserves credit for that. And then, Brian is damn good at wrestling.
Yeah. AEW could charge an obscene amount of money for Dynasty, if that's where they're putting Bryan Danielson versus Ospreay. It could be obscene.
I also don't need any other matches on that card. Like, even if Swerve's winning the title, even if you have Mercedes, just give me those two for 2 hours. I'm good to go. And, of course, Brian's not winning. Brian does not want to win.
No. God, no. Like, we can get into that in a little bit. That just... It just like warms my heart of how predictable Bryan Danielson is. But I look at the Bella Twins as, yes, Brie never main evented WrestleMania, but I look at them as kind of the beginning to fill the gap between the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression era of bra and panty matches, and women were just, not really involved a lot in the wrestling. Like they were just kind of the sideshow. And I looked at them as kind of starting to bridge that gap to the era of the Four Horsewomen, and then, getting to the era now that we have. So I look at those two as really kind of those pioneers who really started getting us to give women a chance to, when that was trending on Twitter. And the whole twin magic thing that they did, I think a lot to kind of bridge the gap. So to me, that's where Brie can kind of make up some of the ground in terms of not being as accomplished as Becky Lynch, but she still is a Hall of Famer. Like Brian is, whenever he retires, going to be a Hall of Famer. Like that's, to me, you have to have both members of the couple be at that level to enter the conversation where Becky and Seth currently are.
Yeah, and that's when the Bellas were up there, like in prominent storylines, like doing stuff with Stephanie and things like that. So the other one I throw out there, and you talk about being at that level, is Hunter and Stephanie.
Well, so that I was waiting for that. That's because that's my top level.
Okay, yeah.
That because and that's where I think Hunter and Steph are above those two.
Yeah.
I think Hunter and Steph are probably the greatest wrestling couple of all time.
Because those two are like top of the top. Like Becky's been there, but there's also a lot of times when she's down. When Stephanie was on TV, she was main event picture every week.
Oh yeah. Maybe she's not wrestling in the matches or whatever, but she has been a Hall of Fame character.
Right.
Stephanie McMahon, the character, has been a Hall of Famer with many iterations. Again, some uncomfortable things that certainly came out with Vince, but like even during the Attitude Era, and when her and, again, it's still wild to me that they got fake married and then actually married, the way that whole thing played out. But but again, but reinventing herself and being a part of the authority angle that her and Hunter and with Bryan Danielson and B plus player, all those different things. And Hunter is he, a 14-time champ?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's obscene how many times he's been a champ, you know. So to me, if I were power ranking couples in wrestling history, Steph and Hunter are number one. And I think there's still work to be done for Becky and Seth to catch them.
So are you putting Becky and Seth at 2, or are you going Bryan and Brie at 2?
Well, so how do we feel about Beth and Edge?
Oh, that's a good one also. Beth, a Hall of Famer. Edge is up there.
Edge also a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, the other one I'll throw out there, we talk about Hall of Famers where didn't last, but Cena and Nikki.
Well, so, okay. They didn't get married, so I think they get disqualified.
Okay.
Had they actually followed through with the engagement that happened at WrestleMania,
it was so magical. I was in the stands. I felt the love in the air.